Welcome back to Echo Ridge in our second episode in our Captain of Industry series. I don't have a cute name for the series yet. I'm sorry. In our last episode, we started building some bare bones of our industry setup. We saw all the wonderful pickups going to and from, dropping off materials where they're needed, but now we have to make sure that they are maintained. If we click on a pickup, you can see that it has a maintenance rating, which all depends on their usage, i.e. how much they're actually driving around. Hence the reason the dump site way over here is probably not the best for this early in the game, but we're doing it anyways. I've already completed the maintenance research. Incidentally, I'm also queuing up vehicles and mining because I know that's where we're heading next. Look at all these goodies we're about to unlock with vehicles and mining too. In fact, I've queued up a smattering of research, trying to at least stay on the forefront, and that way we're not just waiting for more research to come in. We're going to go down to our production menu, click on the maintenance depot. It's going to require 100 kilowatts. Now, something I did not mention last time was the fact that the buildings are sort of automatically connected to the electrical network. You don't have to worry about the distance or anything from the diesel generator. Although I would have liked if they added power poles or something to the game. Maybe not to each individual building, but maybe to a grid or something. But with that being said, the game is still technically in early access and has been since May 31st of 2022. But one thing I look for when I'm looking at an early access title is how much it's being worked on and updated. Right now we're on patch 0.7.4, but you can go back a pretty long distance and see all the different patch notes that have come in fairly regularly. So I don't think this is the case of a perennial early access title. I think it's just a matter of the game being pretty complex. Granted, doesn't look complex right now, but we'll get there. Our maintenance building is now working and it's creating maintenance. It requires mechanical parts and electronics, and it produces 220 maintenance. We go over here onto our menu, we can click on maintenance and you can see what buildings are requiring the most. Pickups often come around here to get worked on, and then also maintenance is applied to, like we said before, the diesel generator. But not all buildings do require maintenance. For instance, the blast furnace is a pretty simple device apparently and does not require any. We got an award for that. I think it's 40 electronics and 50 construction parts. Next up is iron ore mining. I thought about including the mining portion in the last episode, but this is going to take us a little bit. The first thing it wants us to do is to build a vehicles depot, which is over in our new logistics menu, and I'm going to put this fairly close to our maintenance building. It just seems like they would go together, right? And once it's complete, we now have to build a small excavator and a couple of pickups. So inside the vehicle depot, we will select a small excavator. You can see it's going to require vehicle parts, iron, and 10 diesel, and a couple of pickups. With that being said, I don't think I've talked about the fact that all these vehicles do require gas. Right now, they're just getting fueled up by coming over here to the shipyard where all of our diesel is just sitting in stockpile. Eventually, we'll have diesel production as well, and that's where our diesel will be stored and where the vehicles will come to get more fuel. While we're waiting for those to be popping out, you can see now we're down to 20 available workers. Our total population is 92. While our population does grow, you can see by 0.05% every 60 seconds, it doesn't grow very fast. Well, we can invite new people to our industrial complex. I don't know what to call these things yet. By putting down a beacon, which is one of the things that the tutorial is telling us to do. Down here under buildings, we grab the beacon. It's going to require 80 kilowatts and yet another worker. It also requires 10 copper and 30 more of those construction parts. We'll just put it on the edge here by the shipyard. I think that looks pretty good. We are just waiting for the copper to be delivered to our beacon. All the construction parts were. This is one of my favorite things to do in the game, is just follow trucks around. And whammo blammo, our beacon is done. And if we click on it, we can see that we'll get 14 refugees in less than 3 months. Well, right now we only have a housing capacity of 160. So the tutorials recommended that we add another housing area to our settlement. I don't see anything wrong with that. So we're going to go down to housing and services and click housing. I think maybe right here looks good. The terrain is too high here. It's too uneven, as you can see. So we'll throw that down. And once again, it is going to require construction parts, 80 to be precise, taking down from our 295 construction parts we had. And if we click on the construction part on the menu here, we can see an update of how we are doing with construction parts. I like to keep an eye on these things every once in a while to make sure that we're not expanding too fast, and then our wonderful industrial complex will come to a screeching halt pretty quickly. Our excavator has been completed. We also have a couple of pickups that finished, which means it's time to start mining iron ore. Now, when you're trying to figure out where to mine, like we were talking about last episode, you go down here to the layers. Well, I can't really see the difference between what this material is and what this material is, but if I go over to iron ore and select it and unselect it, well, now I can see that that range right there has a good amount of iron ore. It's also conveniently located near most of our buildings, so I think that's a good idea. If I scroll around, I don't see any more iron ore available in our starting area. Before I forget, we are collecting our reward because those first refugees did arrive. I'm going to be keeping an eye on that total population. While I do want plenty of available workers, all of them have to eat. So once this gets up to about 160, 170, I am going to head on back to our beacon and end up pausing it. Now, in order for you to start mining, the first thing you're going to need, if we head down into the terraforming menu, is a mine control tower. It's what controls the excavator and any pickups you have assigned. And you'll notice an arrow. And it's because when you place down this mining control tower, there's a certain amount of area where you cannot mine out of it because the control tower can't see the excavator or any of the pickup trucks. So I'm going to try to put this pretty close, maybe right here. The mining control tower only takes 20 construction parts, not too shabby. And now when I select the mining control tower, you can see the area that the excavators will be able to get into. So always pay attention to the direction of your mining control tower. When I do select the control tower, you can see that I have the ability to assign a number of excavators and trucks. Just like our tree harvester, our excavator is going to need pickup trucks to go with it. So I will select 2 of those. As a quick aside, you can also have separate dumping zones for all the dumping that's going to be required out of this area. So we could select what we had allowed to be dumped here. One more note is there's an edit area under the mine control tower that you can edit the mining control tower's basically area of responsibility. So if I make some changes using the dots here, which I think I'm going to end up needing to do anyways because of a problem I had in my last attempt, and we'll confirm that area. And now our mining control tower has a much bigger area. Next up is going to be the ore sorting plant. We'll go back over to our terraforming. There's our ore sorting plant. Now we can see up here that it requires 80 construction parts. I'm going to put it nice and close to the work that needs to be done. Say right here. Now when I select it, it says add product to sort, but the tutorial doesn't really explain to you what materials need to be sorted, nor would it really know based on this mountain. We also now need to add a mining designation. Once again, there is a fancy smancy tutorial, but that's why I'm here. Once again, just like in a dump site, they have to start from somewhere. You can't just say, hey, I want you to mine up this area here because the trucks can't get up there. And notice that mining sort of defaults by going down. But if I rotate it, you could sort of build the same sort of ramp just by starting at the top. But this is such a tall mountain, I wouldn't be able to do that because there's no slope for me to get up. So then we have a few other options. I could go to flatten the terrain and just tell them, hey, start mining this out from this area here. And I think that is what we are going to do just to be able to get enough of this iron ore to be able to get that industry going. If I had it my way, I would end up going up and around and taking off the top first, maybe by building ramps or excavating out this side first, because this just seems to be a pain in the tuchus the way that's set up. But there goes our excavator, filling up the pickup trucks. Yes, absolutely amazing. Now when we click on the trucks, you can see what cargo is sitting in it. In this case, we have dirt, and we have iron ore. So I'm going to head over to my sorting facility and I'm going to say dirt and iron ore. Now every sorting facility has 4 available outputs for what it can sort, which we eventually would get conveyor belts and that sort of thing. But right now, the trucks come and they drop off the materials, and the materials just sort of stay until there's enough material for a truck to come to empty, in this case, the dirt. The iron ore, on the other hand, we have a use for. We're going to head back over to our blast furnace and set another recipe. In this case, it's going to be iron ore. It does require more coal. In addition to the molten iron, it also is going to give us slag, which is another waste material, I suppose, for now. And the trucks start dropping off the iron ore. Now, notice that you can prioritize which one of these is done first. And in this case, we want to use every little bit of the abandoned communication station before we start tapping into our non-renewable resource. Now, I know, just because I've played this a little bit before, those trucks are going to also start receiving some rock. So I'm going to add rock to be sorted. Quick note on the bells. Our ore sorting plant will end up getting backed up because it won't have anything else to do with the iron ore. Because if we're not using iron, the blast furnace is going to get backed up and then not need iron ore. So it's okay for now in our current implementation that the iron ore backs up. It's not okay if the dirt and the rock are what's causing the ore sorting plant to be backed up. Because basically that means we're out of dumping sites. For now, though, the trucks are coming all the way over here, dumping all that excess dirt and rock into what's going to be our giant ramp. So there's your sort of mini mining tutorial. Now, with all that being said, I am sure somebody with more experience is going to have some nice whiz-bang ideas for you. I'm still relatively new, although I feel like this game is definitely going to end up occupying plenty of my hours here in the future. It's all about the little trucks. I just can't get over them. We're going to collect our reward, 50 electronics, 100 construction parts, and 50 vehicle parts. And while, yeah, the tutorial seems like it's pretty long, that's why I said it's a soft tutorial, because eventually they will stop giving you goals and you just have to figure it out yourself. I haven't hit that part yet, but on we go. Next up is actually processing that iron ore. We have that ready to do. In fact, I will switch these around so the iron ore one is done first, just to be able to check that box. Now it's time for diesel production. First thing we're going to have to do is build an oil pump on an oil deposit and connect them to a basic distiller. Okay, where's the oil? No telling where that oil is, so we head back to our layers and whammo blammo. There's some oil right there. You can also see other places on the island. There are other spots, but I now know it's this little patch right here. And if we go down to another new menu of ours, the crude oil refining, if I tried to put an oil pump over here, it wouldn't let us. When we do select the oil pump, it highlights that layers map. But if you're over here, for instance, I'm like, okay, so where's the oil? You know, okay, here's some over here. I can't get there. That's why I think sometimes it's easier just to go to the layer menu. Now, the tutorial in this case wants a pair of oil pumps. I'm going to put them, say, side by side because it looks very nice. And there's no connections on that end, so that's not too bad. I'm also going to need a basic distiller. I know where that oil is coming in from, so I'm going to say right here. Actually, I'm going to move it a little bit further. That way I know it's not on the oil patch. So if I need to expand those oil pumps, I can. This is a good point too, is notice that a lot of the connections for these type of buildings can be done through pipes. Right now, the majority of our transport's being done by trucks, but eventually we'll have all these connected. Now, in this case, we will be going by pipe from the oil pumps. So we'll select there and just have it go. Oh, that's not clean. Apparently you got to go out one before you can go. Oh no, here we go. Incompatible port. Yep. So I am going to cancel this, get these pipes going so they look nice and clean. Connect these two pipes. It connects them automatically with a pipe connector. And now I know I can put the basic distiller right in here and it'll look pretty good. And look at that, our little connection symbols light up. I think it's green. Beautiful. Now the oil pumps also require power, so our diesel generator is getting some work, but we are getting 5 crude oil every 15 seconds from each pump. And there's storage enough in here for 20, but we are going to be sending it to a distiller that's going to grab more coal, combine it with the crude oil, and give us diesel, wastewater, and exhaust. Well, since we know it's asking for exhaust, means we're going to need a smokestack. There's that connection. Now with our wastewater, we could do a couple of different things. I could have the trucks grab the wastewater and bring them to the liquid dump, which is going to be over here. This seems like a good spot. And so that process will be done manually by truck. What I could also have done, you can see that there's an input connector here, is I could connect it via pipes. But I don't necessarily want to do that quite yet because that'd be a lot of pipes and I don't have ramps unlocked for the trucks to be able to drive over the pipes. So this is going to do for now. We also have to enable, because the trucks do not know what I want to bring to the liquid dump. So we're just going to set a recipe and put wastewater. And yes, it does create water pollution. And whammo blammo, we are producing diesel. I'm going to go one step further and connect this up with a diesel storage area by using the fluid storage. We'll try to line that up very nicely. The tutorial's even telling me to do that now. So there's our fluid storage. Connect it with a nice pipe. Ooh, we just got a message that the tree harvester has no trees to be able to harvest. I need to go back to our tree harvesting designation and add some more trees. I will just select all of them back here, from here as well. You're just getting in the way of my little trucks. And now our tree harvester will have plenty of trees to be able to continue to get rid of. Now when we select the fluid storage, you can see that there is an ability for trucks to bring diesel here. We don't want that to happen. We don't want trucks to bring excess diesel to the fluid storage. We just want it to be used as a buffer tank. Now we do have the fact that trucks can export the diesel from here. In other words, they can come over here and fill up. Tutorial's doing a great job of reminding me, because I failed to, of pausing the beacon. We're up at 164, so we will do that. Also got a couple of rewards here. Next up on our iron processing, remember when I told you that we needed to be able to get rid of this slag? Well, it is by default a part of what can be dumped by trucks. So this last little item will be checked off. In fact, this truck is filled with 20 slag now. Let's do the thing where we follow the truck. Everybody make truck noises. And whammo blammo, we have now finished processing iron ore. More rewards and plenty of more items to produce. The tutorial wants us to build another assembler. We know the last one is right here, so I'm just going to hit C and copy that, which will include its recipe. We click on it now, you can see that the construction part recipe is already loaded. That'll be that. We also need some storage. This is where we'll start having individual warehouses for different elements. I'm not doing anything fancy here. I'm just going to build a couple of these next to each other. As the tutorial says, I'm going to have one store iron and one store construction parts. Now these are small storage warehouses and can only hold 200 of each item, but you'll notice our poor shipyard is getting overrun with materials. And that's because every time I'm clicking accept reward, the materials are coming here. Ideally though, the shipyard is only going to be used to offload goods from your ship. Speaking of which, we're also ready to repair the shipyard, which requires 100 construction parts. We could also click the keep empty on the shipyard, so when the ship did come in and bring some stuff, trucks would come and automatically empty it. But they'd have to have a place to bring all of these items, and we don't have that yet. There's our warehouses. Once again, you can see that they are able to be connected conveyor belts, but we don't have that yet. Tutorial is also asking for some more assemblers. These are new recipes for electronics and vehicle parts, so I'm not going to build those by clicking copy. I'm going to put one here, and then I will copy it. And a recipe has not been assigned. I can do that. On this first one, we will select of our available recipes, vehicle parts, and electronics. Of note, electronics requires rubber and copper, two items that we're not producing yet. Our shipyard is now fully repaired. Notice there's this wonderful ship designer button that pops up now. I'm looking forward to doing a bunch of this, but we can change the ship's engines. We can add guns and armor to the thing, extra fuel tanks to increase its range, but we're not about that life yet. What the game is asking us to do is to fill the ship with fuel. So I'm going to take the trucks, keep it full if it's under, and just max it out. The diesel was already in the shipyard, so the ship now has plenty of diesel. What it doesn't have is crew. So I can select the load crew button, and then 15 people are now a part of that ship. We have it selected that the ship will automatically return home, which is good. And it's time to go out to the world map and explore our first area. I think we'll head down here. So I'm going to select it and click explore. Notice that the island is 202 kilometers away from our island, and our ship is now leaving to go explore that area. Be safe, little buddies. Bring home all the goodies. We can see the ship when it is en route. Now, we have no idea what is at this point of interest, but we'll get a pop-up once the ship is there. Next up, the game wants us to start mining limestone. Well, step one is finding out where the limestone is. So here I do my little clicky clicks, and we happen to have a little bit right here. And I'm glad now that I did not connect this fluid dump with our distiller, because then the trucks would have to go all the way around to get to the limestone mine. But we are pros, so we know what we're doing here. So we will make this pretty quick. There's our mine control tower. I don't think there's anything wrong with that default space. We need a sorting plant for this area too. You don't necessarily have to put the sorting plant next to the mine control tower. You could put it all the way over here, but the trucks would have much further to go when the excavators filled it up. For now, they only have to go right here. In fact, I need to check. Look at the nice little square they've dug out of this mountain. I want to make sure there's still plenty more to mine. Oh, there's not really. So let's go ahead and expand this. I think that should do for a little while. Our ship has reached this area, and we see that there's an oil rig there. We could start repairing it, but it requires 120, I think they call them construction materials too, just more advanced construction materials. We don't have that yet. So I'm going to tell the ship to go home. Now up here in our vehicles, you can see that their status is extremely busy. There are no trucks that are idle at any one point, which means we're falling behind the curve a little bit. That is going to be okay. I'm not worried too much about our limestone mining because we are going to build another excavator and a pair of pickups. And I think while I'm in here, I'm also going to build 2 more pickups. While I will assign 1 pickup and 1 excavator to the mine, I want to add 2 more to our general fleet. In preparation for that, we can start building our kiln, which is over here in production. I think we'll have the whole limestone to concrete industry over here. Ease of transport and all. Smash it down right there. And we also have to connect it with a rainwater harvester. Actually, I don't love how close this is, so I think I'm going to move this. Let's delete this real quick, and let me put the harvester down first. I'll put it right here. Get that built so we can start collecting some of that valuable rain. Oh, as a matter of fact, redo. I'm going to make it go the other direction by rotating it with R. I'll put it right here, and then our kiln will be able to line up pretty nice, just like that. There's no reason why I couldn't connect them directly, but I'm trying to leave room for future expansion, even though I know you've heard me say this before, but all of this really does have to be temporary because we're going to go completely overboard with roads and trains and all that sort of stuff. Over here in our transport, we select our pipes. The kiln is now connected. It also has a requirement for exhaust, which is found here in waste management. And there's our smokestack right there. And of course it would stop raining right when I needed to collect some of that rain. Look how basic this is. It's just a pair of tarps going down into a pipe collector. Very nice. You gotta love the ingenuity of the people here on Echo Ridge. Our kiln is finished, so now we're able to take limestone, coal, and water and make concrete. Our second pickup is coming out of the vehicle's depot. They're all sort of stacked right here. There goes one of the trucks to do some idle work, but our excavator is completed. So I can go back over here to this mine control, select 1 excavator and a pair of pickup trucks. And this time, before I just go into the ore sorting plant and start adding materials, I'm going to show you another way of being able to do it. We also have to designate a mining area. I'm going to do the flatten the terrain and just completely remove this entire mountainscape eventually one day. I want it all level with everything else. So I think I can do that. And it looks like I am going to have to edit the area just to get behind the tower a little bit. There's some uneven terrain there and I don't want it to be there. So our excavator is starting. There's probably not much limestone there, but when we select the excavator, you saw that there was limestone and dirt. We can also confirm that by going over to the truck itself. So at a minimum, we need our ore sorting to do limestone and dirt. Now, by default, the ore sorting plant is allowed to back up by limestone. The game kind of knows that what we're looking for is limestone. We don't need a designated dumping area because we still are working on our giant ramp, and they will keep using this dump area until they finish all the way up here. Here goes our pickup truck loading in more dirt and limestone. nicely sorted. And so far, that's all it appears to be is limestone and dirt. I don't buy it for a second that there's not any rock or anything in there, but I'll wait until it gives me the message. Once we get enough of that limestone, we have enough coal and water, and we'll start being able to create concrete slabs. The tutorial's waiting for 8 of them. In the background, I am going to be taking our ship here and going to explore different areas. We'll continue to explore the entire map. It does get much larger than this. And there we go. We've completed concrete. Thank you for the goodies. Now it's time to build some synthetic rubber, which is good because remember, it was one of the resources that we are not renewing. So it's time to research synthetic rubber and copper refinement. Here's synthetic rubber. I'll start that. Copper refinement, we'll add it to the queue. And just because I'm in here, notice that we're heading towards conveyor belts. Construction 2 with those more advanced parts, advanced logistical control, better housing, tree planting, crop rotation, smart conveyors. One of them I'm really looking forward to is these custom surfaces. I want my roads, people. Shortly after that, advanced diesel, logistic zones, construction 3, and then trains opens up. Oh, and then look at this, larger vehicles. And all the way out here, and it's still not even halfway through the research tree. I've been doing a little bit more exploring, and as I have, noticed that the map starts opening up even more. But we did find a damaged cargo ship. We can repair it, but it's going to require 240 iron. I don't think I'm going to do that quite yet because our iron production is still very, very slow. So I'm just going to send the ship home. Eventually, we'll have a lot of these furnaces, but for now, especially while we're getting full on all of our vehicle parts, mechanical parts, construction parts, electronics, I'm prioritizing creating all of these resources that we need immediately before we start on something else. Build and connect a rubber maker is next up since we finished the research on synthetic rubber. You can see here is our rubber maker. It's going to require diesel and sulfur or diesel and coal. Well, I don't have access to sulfur yet, so I'm thinking we're going to be doing the coal version. This seems kind of fluid based, huh? And we do have a diesel tank right here. So instead of having a truck transport it, why don't we just connect it via a pipe? I don't want it to drink all my diesel. I suppose we can bottleneck it by using the backup on the rubber. So let's put the rubber maker right there. We'll have one of these pipes come out and connect right in there. We're going to set the recipe. We're going to say diesel and coal. Unfortunately, this does produce wastewater. We already have the ability to get rid of that wastewater. But now you can start to see where a wastewater line would have been pretty efficient sending it off over here. Right now it's all done by truck, not too big of a deal. But in the future, all of these things will be able to be interconnected in some beautiful synergy. You know what's also suffering is our coal production. 18 wood to 7.5 coal. I might want to add another tree excavator and a couple more pickups, and I will do that now. Tree harvesting, couple more pickups, because what it appears to be is before another pickup can come with the next load of wood, the coal maker has already ran out of wood. And it's partly because it's such a long distance from our forest. So having another excavator and another pair of pickups to go with it will help. And that problem's only going to be exacerbated the further out we go to get more of our trees. That's gonna do it for this episode of Captain of Industry. Let me know in the comments below if you're enjoying this sort of format with this style of game. It has a little bit of a different pacing aspect than say something like Oxygen Not Included, and the fact that we're 2 episodes in and still working on the very, very basics says how deep that well really goes. So I'm looking forward to hearing your feedback in the comments below. So until next time, much love, happy gaming, I'll talk to you soon.